So I wanted to talk about melodic minor, also known as jazz minor. Uh, so understanding melodic minor is very important if you want to play contemporary jazz, and understanding the modes of the melodic minor. So we're gonna go through them, and I'm gonna show you a way that I practice or used to practice these modes to get kind of the sound into your head and your ears and your system and under your fingers and all the rest of it. So let's just start with the melodic minor itself, and I'm gonna make a little loop just playing a C melodic minor chord or some kind of minor major 7 chord, right? So let's do that. So once you know all the positions and you know your melodic minor scales, you want to be able to move freely on the fretboard, right? So just try to play this way rather than in a position. Try to break out of the position. So there are three ways that you can do that. First is to slide. So I start in a position. Sorry. And then I just slide somewhere else. So that forces you to learn the fretboard, the whole fretboard. Another thing you can do is just start on the lowest note. Imagine that you're a sax player, that you play the whole register of your instrument. The lowest note, and then just go up the whole scale. Right? So some people have complained that, Mikko, your videos, they're all about bob scales and licks and patterns and things, theory, right? So here, let's take the opportunity to get away from licks. So I'm gonna try to not play licks. I'm just gonna try to play C melodic minor and no licks. I mean, we're probably gonna play some licks or pet phrases anyway, but don't worry too much about that. Just try not to play your licks and just move around the fretboard, and don't worry too much if is it music or is it jazz. Like, just learn the scales and try to come up with fingerings that you haven't done before necessarily. So another way to move around the fretboard is to use stretches. Another way is just to shift position. Try to shift position to somewhere uncomfortable or unknown territory on. Maybe you have a weak area somewhere. You know? So those are the 3 ways you can move around the fretboard. Slide, position shift, and stretches. So now we need to learn the modes of the melodic minor. So if I play the scale from each and one of the degrees from this scale, I get melodic minor. The next step would be D, which would give me, sorry, there's too much bass here. Which would give, if I start on D, that would give me some kind of Phrygian natural 6 is what I call this scale. Some people call it other things, but I call it Phrygian natural 6 or natural 13. Then I get an E flat Lydian augmented or Lydian sharp 5, F Lydian flat 7, and then we get a G Mixolydian flat 6 or flat 13, the scale nobody ever talks about or ever plays for some reason. And then we have A minor 7 flat 5 on the 6th degree, which gives us a Locrian natural 2 scale. And then finally on the 7th degree we get the infamous altered scale, which I think is the trickiest one to hear. What happens for a lot of people is that they shift kind of the gravity of the sound so that they hear everything from C rather than hearing all the notes how they relate to the B. And all of a sudden you hear it like a C melodic minor scale. But the root is there. So in the beginning, if you're new to this, maybe you want to spend a lot of time with each and one of these modes. So I'm not getting into detail of the modes. I'm kind of hoping that you already know these modes more or less. And there's plenty of resources out there covering these modes, the modes of the melodic minor, as it were. But then what you can do is you can create a backing track where you just go through all these steps. So I'll do that. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm starting on C minor major 7. So maybe 4 bars each. D Lydian or D Phrygian natural 6. E flat. F7, Lydian flat 7. A flat 5, and B altered. So I'm gonna play the same scale, right? C melodic minor over all these chords, and again try to move freely. So if you do this, I think you'll notice that you start hearing the same notes sound different. Even though I'm playing the same scale, every time the chord changes, it gives you a new feeling, right? So each one of these modes has a different feel to it. So you want to do this, if you're really ambitious, and you should be, you want to do this exercise from each step of the chromatic scale, so all 12 keys, which might seem like a daunting enterprise, but I think it's necessary if you really want to learn jazz improvisations, taking it seriously. This is the kind of thing that most players go through at some point, just really getting these modes under your fingers, right? So it's not impossible. It'll take some time, but it's with the risk of sounding like a car salesperson or something. If you do that, I can guarantee you that your playing will improve, because you will really get these sounds in your system and under your fingers, right? So next thing, which is trickier, would be to, instead of moving the modes in the scale, I'm gonna keep the root the same. So I'm gonna play all these modes from C. So I'll make a backing track like that. I'll show you what I mean. So C melodic minor, and then the next mode from C. 7. Mixo flat 6. Locrian natural 2. And altered. Now this is going to be totally different, right? So melodic minor. Exercise before I did starting on the lowest note, playing the whole scale. Let's try that. So I'm going to start with the lowest note I can find on my instrument and then try to play the whole scale and then turn on the next chord. I'll show you what I mean. I'm not thinking positions or boxes. I'm kind of thinking more of actually playing on one string. That's another thing you can do. Just try to play on one string. If you're having trouble doing this, so just play on one string. Right? And another thing that happens is that there's two ways you can think about this, right? You can think of C melodic minor, and the next scale is C Phrygian natural 6. It's the name of that scale. And it's also B flat melodic minor, right? So your brain kind of goes, wait, am I playing B flat melodic minor? Or am I playing C C Phrygian natural 6? You need to be able to kind of think of both these things at the same time. And eventually, when you go through all the 12 keys, it all kind of becomes the same thing, actually. So the more you practice this, the easier it gets. It's in the beginning that it's really difficult when you're not really hearing the altered sound. So yeah, that was my little workout. What is more of a mental workout, I guess, than a finger workout. So we're exploring the fretboard, learning the modes, and trying to be creative at the same time. Trying to get away from our licks. So we're actually killing two birds with one stone here. We're learning the modes and we're getting them into our ears, right? And also practicing creativity. Right? So yeah, that was my workout. I might do a lesson also on harmonic minor, which is, in my opinion, very different the way we use that scale. So no, that was melodic minor. I shall see you next time.